Rylan Ward had always been a traveler. His ship, the Horizon Runner, was not the fastest in the galaxy, nor the most heavily armed, but it was sturdy, reliable, and exactly what a lone engineer like him needed. He had traveled from one distant star system to another, delivering repair kits, machinery, and occasionally transporting people who preferred discretion. Today, however, the stars felt heavier, as if the universe itself was warning him that something unusual was about to happen. As he flew past a small, icy moon on the edge of the Lyris sector, his ship's instruments beeped unexpectedly. A faint distress signal, almost imperceptible, pulsed in the static of the void. Rylan frowned, adjusting his visor to analyze it. He had heard many false alarms over the years, signals that turned out to be malfunctioning satellites or natural cosmic phenomena, but something about this one felt different. There was a pattern, a rhythm in the chaos, that suggested a life clinging desperately to survival. Rylan's hands moved over the control panel with ease. "Let's see what you are," he muttered. His curiosity, always stronger than caution, took control. He followed the signal to the surface of the moon. Its icy plains were jagged with black rock formations, making landing tricky. The Horizon Runner shuddered as he carefully descended, finally touching down near a crater that seemed strangely disturbed, as if something, or someone, had crashed there. The crash site was worse than he expected. Smoke spiraled into the thin atmosphere, and small fires burned around a twisted piece of metal, glowing from the impact. Rylan jumped out of his ship, scanning the area. That was when he saw her, a small figure struggling to pull herself from a broken escape pod. She was unlike any species he had seen before. Her skin shimmered faintly with a soft, crystalline glow, and her eyes were large and luminous, reflecting the cold starlight. Her suit was torn, revealing delicate circuits embedded in her skin, clearly part of her biology. Rylan immediately recognized the injuries: fractured bones, severe bruising, and exhaustion from lack of oxygen and energy. He moved quickly, crouching beside her. "Hey! Can you hear me?" he shouted, though the thin atmosphere made the sound weak. The alien girl struggled to lift her head. Her voice, when it came, was melodic but strained. "I need help." Rylan didn't hesitate. He activated the medkit in his ship, pulling out tools, stimulants, and portable oxygen patches. Working quickly, he patched up her injuries as best as he could in the freezing air. She flinched at first but soon relaxed, trusting him to stabilize her. Once she was breathing easier, Rylan helped her stand. She was light, almost fragile, but surprisingly strong. She looked at him with eyes full of fear and wonder. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm Rylan Ward. You're lucky I found you," he said bluntly. "And lucky isn't free." She blinked, confused. "Free? I saved your life," he said, brushing ash from his coat. "I don't do charity. When you owe someone your life, you owe them a favor. One day, I'll call it in." The girl's eyes widened. Favor?" Rylan nodded. "Yes. Don't worry about it now. Just survive first." He helped her to his ship and carefully lifted her inside. The cabin was warm, humming with the soft life of engines and artificial gravity. She shivered and pressed herself to a heating pad he quickly wrapped around her shoulders. Her name, she finally whispered, was Eris, and she belonged to a species called the Lunari. She was a noble, sent on a diplomatic mission when pirates attacked her convoy. Her escape pod was her only chance at survival, but she had drifted far from safe space. Rylan listened quietly, absorbing her story. He had encountered countless alien species in his travels, but few were so vulnerable and yet so dignified. Eris was clearly intelligent and well-educated, but there was fear in her voice, and he could sense her loneliness. "I don't know who these pirates are," she admitted. but they will not stop until they capture me." "Then we need to move before they find us," Ryland said. He scanned the instruments. Sure enough, faint blips appeared on his radar, signals likely from the pirates tracking the escape pod. "Looks like they're already on our tail." Eris's eyes widened, and she instinctively reached for the console. "I can help. My ship has defense protocols." Ryland shook his head. "Not here. Not now. Your systems are damaged. Let me do the flying. You stay alive. That's your job." He powered up the engines and lifted the Horizon Runner carefully out of the crater. The pirates were not far behind, their ship small but dangerous. Ryland knew he had to use the moon's asteroid field to his advantage. He guided Eris through narrow canyons of ice and rock, dodging and weaving as the pursuing ships struggled to keep up. As they sped through the asteroid field, Eris watched him work in awe. His hands moved with precision, adjusting thrusters, shields, and energy output like a conductor leading an orchestra. She realized that humans were different from her expectations, not merely fighters or explorers, but thinkers, planners, and improvisers. "Why do you risk yourself for me?" she asked cautiously. Ryland didn't answer immediately. Instead, he kept his eyes on the radar, calculating every move. "Because I can," he said finally, "and because no one else is going to. The universe doesn't hand out chances twice." Eris thought about this. Her people believed that only great power or advanced technology could change fate. But here was a human, small and alone, defying odds simply with courage, wit, and stubbornness. Hours passed as they escaped the pursuit. Ryland's knowledge of the stars, combined with his ability to improvise, kept them alive. Eventually, the pirate ships gave up, retreating into the void, frustrated and empty-handed. Exhausted but relieved, Eris finally sat down. She studied Ryland closely, noticing the faint scars on his hands, the weathered lines on his face, and the calm determination in his eyes. "Humans, you are not like any other species I've known," she said softly. Ryland shrugged, a faint smile crossing his lips. "We survive because we have to. We care because we can. That's the difference." For a while, they sat in silence. The stars outside the cockpit glimmered like scattered diamonds, and the hum of the ship was the only sound. Eris's fear slowly gave way to curiosity. She had been so sure she would die, so sure that all hope was lost, and yet here she was, alive because of a human stranger who asked for nothing, yet demanded everything. Finally, she spoke again. "And the favor? You will ask it one day?" Ryland nodded, keeping his gaze on the stars. "Yes, but not now. Right now you need to recover. Later. We'll see." Eris swallowed hard. The idea of owing a life debt was foreign to her. Her people often thought in terms of duty, honor, and alliances, but never in such immediate personal terms. Yet she felt a strange sense of respect for Ryland, even gratitude, even fear of the unknown favor. The Horizon Runner hummed quietly as it carried them away from danger. Ryland prepared a small cabin for Eris to rest, ensuring she had food, warmth, and oxygen. She lay down, watching him as he checked the ship's systems, always alert, always thinking. "You always do this?" she asked after a while, her voice soft. "Do what?" Ryland asked, pausing as he adjusted a console. "Save strangers. Risk yourself for someone you barely know." Ryland thought for a moment, then replied, "Not always. Only when it matters. Only when someone deserves it. Or when it's worth it." Eris's eyes drifted closed. For the first time since the attack, she felt safe. She knew the danger was not completely gone, but she also understood that humans were unpredictable, stubborn, and capable of surprising acts of courage. As Rylan watched her sleep, he allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He had spent his life traveling alone, helping strangers, taking risks, and collecting debts in ways only he could understand. Saving Eris was no different, but there was something about this small, luminous being that made him pause. Perhaps it was her courage, her innocence, or the quiet strength she carried despite her injuries. Whatever it was, he knew that this encounter would change both of them. The first chapter of their journey had ended, but the stars held more challenges, more dangers, and more truths than either of them could yet imagine. Rylan Ward had saved a life, and Eris had survived against impossible odds. But the universe had not finished testing them, and somewhere, deep in the void, the forces that hunted her were still watching, waiting for the right moment to strike again. For now, however, the Horizon Runner sailed through the dark expanse, carrying its unlikely passengers toward a future neither of them could predict. And in the quiet hum of the ship, one thing was certain. A human had saved an alien girl, but not for free, and the debt had just begun. The Horizon Runner glided silently through the empty expanse of space. Rylan adjusted the navigation panel, checking the ship's trajectory, while Eris watched from the cabin seat, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her body was healing, but her mind was restless. She could not stop thinking about what had happened, about the pirates, the betrayal of her own convoy, and the strange, fearless human who had saved her. "I still don't understand," Eris said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. "How did you survive back there? How did you outsmart them?" Rylan didn't answer immediately. He kept his eyes on the instruments, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Experience," he said finally, with a shrug that suggested it was nothing special. "And stubbornness. Humans are good at surviving because we refuse to give up, no matter the odds. Others may have faster ships, better weapons, or stronger shields. But we have persistence. That counts for more than most realize." Eris looked at him, trying to comprehend. "Persistence. But you are alone. You face many dangers by yourself. Aren't you afraid?" Rylan smiled faintly, a rare softness in his otherwise sharp demeanor. "Of course I'm afraid, but fear is only dangerous if you let it control you. I use it to focus. Fear tells me to be careful, to think ahead, but it doesn't stop me from acting." She studied him in silence. There was a strange honesty in his words, something her people rarely saw. In Lunari society, leaders often spoke in grand ideas, promises, and appearances. But humans, from what she had experienced, spoke simply and often directly. This human Rylan had saved her life, yet he did not ask for loyalty, allegiance, or even thanks. He asked for a favor she did not yet understand, but one she instinctively knew she would not be able to refuse. Hours passed as they traveled. The Horizon Runner hummed steadily, and the stars outside the viewport stretched into endless ribbons of light. Eris eventually broke the silence. "You said a favor. One day. When will that be?" she asked, her eyes wide with both curiosity and worry. Rylan glanced at her briefly before returning his gaze to the navigation panel. "Not now. When the time comes, I will decide. For now, survive. That is your job." She nodded, though unease lingered. There was something uncomfortable about owing someone your life. Yet she could not deny the relief that filled her. She had been certain she would die on that frozen moon, certain the pirates would find her and end her life, and yet here she was, alive, because of a human stranger. "Why do you help strangers?" she asked after a while, her voice soft, almost hesitant. Rylan paused and looked at her properly this time. "Not always. Only when it matters. Only when it's worth it. Sometimes it's a risk I take because it could save a life, Sometimes because I can't ignore someone in need. Today it was worth it. Eris considered this. Her species often calculated risks in strict terms of gain, strategy, or honor. But humans, they seemed unpredictable, willing to act with courage even without immediate reward. Perhaps that was why Rylan had survived so long in the galaxy, traveling alone, facing dangers that would have destroyed most others. She decided to trust him, at least for now. She knew she had no other choice, and in the quiet hum of the Horizon Runner, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: safety. The journey was not without challenges. A sudden meteor shower forced Rylan to make rapid adjustments, weaving the ship through the floating rocks with skill born of years of experience. Eris helped when she could, using her knowledge of navigation systems and the damaged sensors of her suit, but she had to rely mostly on Rylan's instincts. He guided her gently, offering instructions that were precise, yet calm. "You need to stay calm," he said, voice steady over the intercom. "Panic will make things worse. Trust me, I've done this before." Eris followed his instructions, and together they maneuvered through the danger. She realized with a mix of admiration and awe that Rylan's calmness was not arrogance. It was certainty born of understanding, a deep knowledge of the universe and the way things worked. Finally, after what seemed like hours but was only a fraction of the journey, they reached a neutral station in a quieter sector of the galaxy. The station was a hub for travelers, merchants, and occasional smugglers, a place where species from across the stars crossed paths. Rylan landed the Horizon Runner carefully, docking with precision. Eris stepped out, still feeling weak but grateful to be on solid ground. She looked around at the bustling activity of the station, alien voices, different customs, and strange machines moving about. She realized how small and isolated she had been, and how vast the galaxy truly was. "This is incredible," she whispered. Rylan chuckled. "It is, but it can be dangerous too. You have to learn to survive in it. That's part of what I'm teaching you, whether you like it or not." Eris smiled faintly. There was a strange comfort in knowing that the human beside her had no illusions about the galaxy. He didn't promise safety, only survival. While Rylan dealt with refueling and repairs for the ship, Eris explored the station. She had questions, many questions, about humans, their technology, their culture, and their ways of thinking. She found herself fascinated by their simplicity in some things and their ingenuity in others. She asked Rylan about the human reputation, about how they survived against stronger and faster enemies. "They don't give up," Rylan said, "even when the odds are against them. That's what makes humans special. We are adaptable, stubborn, and clever. Those qualities have kept us alive when logic says we should have failed." Eris nodded slowly, absorbing every word. There was truth in what he said. Her people often relied on technology, diplomacy, or influence to survive, but humans, this human, used determination and willpower in ways that were foreign, yet effective. Their rest was brief. The station was not entirely safe. Even here, word traveled quickly, and the pirates who had attacked Eris were not likely to give up so easily. Rylan knew they had to be cautious. He showed Eris how to blend in, how to move quietly, and how to monitor communication channels for signs of danger. "Even when you think you are safe, the galaxy has eyes," he explained. "You never know who is watching." Eris followed his advice diligently. She marveled at how he seemed to anticipate every possible problem, every potential threat. Yet he remained calm. His mind was a combination of calculation and instinct, something she had never seen before. That night, as they shared a small meal in a quiet corner of the station, Eris spoke again. "Do you ever get tired of always helping others?" she asked. Rylan considered the question. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But then I remember why I do it. People need someone who refuses to give up. I've been helped before, and I'll do the same for others. It's a cycle. One life saved can mean many more in the future. Eris looked at him thoughtfully. She realized that humans had a way of turning survival into a philosophy, a way of living that was both practical and honorable. This human, who demanded a favor in return, was not greedy. He was wise. He understood balance, and he understood the consequences of actions. As they prepared to rest, Eris felt a sense of gratitude unlike any she had known. She had survived against impossible odds, and she had done so because of a human who demanded nothing in return, at least nothing immediate. She also felt the weight of the promise she had made, a promise whose significance she did not yet fully understand. Rylan watched her carefully, ensuring she was safe and comfortable. He had saved her life, yes, but he also knew the galaxy would test her in ways she could not yet imagine. The favor would come in its own time, and he would trust her to honor it. But for now, survival was the priority, and together, they had survived the first trial. The stars outside the station continued to shine, a reminder of the vastness of space, the dangers lurking in every sector, and the potential for extraordinary encounters. Rylan and Eris were only at the beginning of their journey, but a bond had formed between them, a bond forged in survival, trust, and mutual respect. Eris realized that humans were not just beings of flesh and technology. They were resilient, resourceful, and sometimes reckless, but they had a strength of spirit that was unmatched. She understood in that quiet moment that the favor she owed would not be a burden, but a bridge between two very different worlds. And so, in the hum of the Horizon Runner, amidst the twinkling stars of a distant sector, the human and the alien girl rested, readying themselves for the challenges ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but together they had begun a journey that neither would forget, a journey that would test courage, friendship, and the very essence of what it meant to survive. The first chase had ended, but the path ahead was long. Pirates, betrayals, and political schemes waited in the shadows, ready to challenge them again. But for now, Rylan and Eris had survived. And that was the first victory. A victory earned through skill, determination, and the unpredictable strength of the human spirit. In that quiet moment, Eris finally allowed herself to hope. And Rylan, ever vigilant, allowed himself a rare smile, knowing that the favor she owed would one day be repaid, but that the journey they shared would mean more than any debt. The calm of the neutral station was short-lived. Eris had barely begun to recover when news reached her that shook her world. Her home, the Lunari home world, was no longer safe. Her uncle, a trusted elder of her people, had seized the opportunity to betray her. The pirates who had attacked her convoy were not random. They were hired by him, seeking to remove her from the line of succession so he could claim leadership for himself. Eris's luminous eyes widened in shock. She felt a wave of disbelief and anger. Her own family had turned against her. All the teachings of trust, honor, and loyalty she had grown up with seemed to crumble before her. She looked to Rylan, searching for guidance, but she could see the same steady calm in his eyes that had guided them through every danger so far. "They think I am powerless now," Eris whispered, her voice trembling. "They think they can take everything from me." Rylan's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. "They may try," he said, "but they underestimate you and me. We'll fix this, but first you have to survive and regain your strength. Then we plan." For the next few days, Rylan guided Eris through the station, teaching her the subtle skills of observation and strategy. They worked together to repair her personal communication beacon, a small device that transmitted encrypted signals across the Lunari space lanes. With it repaired, she could contact allies discreetly and gather information about her uncle's plans. While Rylan worked on systems and navigation, Eris studied the political networks of her people. She realized how fragile her position had become, yet how strong she could be with the right allies. The human beside her, patient and observant, became both teacher and companion. She admired how he could anticipate moves, calculate risks, and adapt instantly to new problems. "You see," Rylan explained one evening as they monitored incoming data from Lunari space, "the galaxy isn't fair. People betray, cheat, and fight for power. The difference is in how you respond. You either react with fear or act with intelligence. Fear doesn't win wars, strategy does." Eris nodded. There was truth in his words, more than any council session or political lecture she had attended. Humans did not rely solely on rank, wealth, or influence. They relied on thinking, improvisation, and courage. And right now she realized she needed all three. They began devising a plan to return to Lunari space without drawing the attention of her uncle's forces. Rylan modified the Horizon Runner to emit false readings, making it appear as a freighter on routine delivery runs. He taught Eris how to interpret ship scans and read signals, skills that would help her navigate safely through potentially hostile space. The journey back was tense. Every ping on the radar could mean a spy, every signal a potential trap. Eris had never felt fear so acutely, yet she noticed a strange calm when she looked at Rylan. His presence reminded her that even in the worst situations, survival was possible if one stayed alert and clever. One night, as they drifted through a quiet sector, Eris asked, "Rylan, why do you care so much? You don't even know my people. You didn't have to save me." Rylan looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes, helping someone is the right thing. Not because you expect anything, but because someone deserves it. You were in danger. I could save you. That's enough for me. The favor? That's just the universe keeping balance. Don't worry about it yet." Eris felt a mixture of relief and curiosity. Humans seemed paradoxical to her. They acted for reasons that were sometimes clear, sometimes mysterious, yet there was a consistency in their courage and logic. She wondered what other surprises this human had in store. When they reached Lunari-controlled space, Rylan guided them through the outer borders undetected. Using stealth maneuvers and precise calculations, they avoided patrol ships and pirate hideouts. Eris began to feel a sense of empowerment, realizing that survival was not passive, it was active. With knowledge, planning, and courage, she could reclaim what had been taken from her. As they neared her homeworld, Eris activated her personal beacon, sending encrypted messages to allies who remained loyal to her. She discovered that not all her people were deceived by her uncle's lies. Several high-ranking officials, secretly supportive of her, began preparing for her return. Rylan watched quietly, allowing her to take the lead. "You're learning fast," he said, a rare hint of praise in his voice. "But remember, patience is as important as speed. Act too soon, and you could lose everything." Eris nodded, absorbing every word. The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders, but the human beside her made it feel manageable. She was not alone, and for the first time in days, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of victory. They infiltrated the capital quietly, blending in with the activity of the city. Rylan had prepared false documents and disguises, making Eris appear as a minor diplomat returning from a routine mission. She moved through the streets with a mixture of nerves and determination, relying on both her training and Rylan's guidance. At night, in the safety of a hidden ally's safe house, Eris reviewed her uncle's actions and the evidence she had gathered. Corrupt contracts, falsified reports, and secret communications revealed the depth of his betrayal. Her heart sank at the thought of how close she had come to losing everything. Rylan remained silent, allowing her to process the information. "Use this wisely," he advised. Information is power, but only if you act with precision. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Revenge is easy. Strategy is hard. Eris understood. She would not act out of anger, but out of careful planning. Her uncle's ambitions would be stopped, and she would reclaim her rightful place as a leader, but she would do so in a way that protected her people and ensured stability. In the days that followed, she and Rylan worked tirelessly. They communicated with loyal allies, coordinated safe entry points, and set up contingencies in case of betrayal. Eris found herself relying on the human not only for technical guidance, but for moral support. His calm, rational approach balanced her own impulsive tendencies, and she began to see the value of his friendship, and perhaps something deeper. One evening, as they finalized their plan, Eris asked quietly, "Rylan, will this favor you asked for ever come due?" Rylan smiled faintly, not in jest, but with a calm certainty. "Eventually, but not now. Right now, focus on what matters. Winning this fight, surviving, and protecting what you care about. The favor will wait. Humans are patient." Eris nodded, comforted by his words. The universe seemed chaotic and dangerous, but with Rylan beside her, she felt a sense of stability she had not experienced in years. She realized that humans were not just survivors. They were guides, teachers, and allies, capable of shaping outcomes in ways that logic alone could not predict. Finally, the day came for their confrontation. Eris and Rylan moved through the capital, guided by loyal allies and careful planning. They arrived at the council chamber where her uncle had convened a meeting to solidify his claim to power. Eris stepped forward, evidence in hand, her voice calm but commanding. The council members, shocked by the sudden revelation, listened as she presented her case. Her uncle attempted to deny the accusations, but the documents, encrypted messages, and witness testimonies were undeniable. One by one, his lies unraveled, leaving him exposed before his own people. Rylan remained just outside the chamber, observing silently. His presence was reassuring, a reminder that even in moments of intense challenge, careful preparation and courage could prevail. Eris's confidence grew as she realized that victory was within reach. When the council finally ruled in her favor, restoring her position as rightful leader, Eris felt a surge of relief and gratitude. She had faced betrayal, danger, and uncertainty, yet she had survived and triumphed. The human who had saved her life had been with her every step, guiding her, protecting her, and teaching her lessons she would carry forever. Later, in a quiet moment, she finally asked the question that had weighed on her since the day he saved her. "Rylan, what will the favor be?" Rylan looked at her, his eyes calm but filled with meaning. "I want you to see our world. Visit Earth one day, learn about humans firsthand. That's the favor." Eris blinked, surprised. She had expected demands for technology, wealth, or alliances, but not this. A simple request, yet one that carried respect and curiosity. She realized that the favor was not a burden, but a bridge between their worlds, a chance for understanding and connection. "I will come," she promised. "I will visit your world." Rylan nodded, a rare smile spreading across his face. "Then we are even. For now." With the threat of her uncle removed, the pirates gone, and her people safe, Eris began the long process of rebuilding trust and leadership. She knew the galaxy would continue to challenge her, but she also knew she had an ally she could rely on. And so, amidst the stars and the quiet hum of the Horizon Runner, Eris and Rylan looked toward the future. A future full of possibility, friendship, and the strength of the human spirit. They had survived the betrayal, outsmarted enemies, and reclaimed what was theirs. The favor had been promised, but the lessons, the trust, and the bond formed would last far longer. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and unpredictable, but together they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. And in that moment, Eris understood something profound. Humans were not just survivors. They were teachers, guides, and friends, capable of inspiring courage, hope, and change. The journey was far from over, but they had won the first battle of many, and the connection between human and alien had grown stronger, stronger than either could have imagined. The restoration of Eris's position as the rightful heir of the Lunari was met with celebration across her homeworld. Citizens who had quietly supported her throughout her exile rejoiced openly, while loyal council members began to implement the changes she had long envisioned. Yet despite the joy surrounding her, Eris remained cautious. She knew that power, once challenged, could invite envy and treachery. Her uncle's betrayal had been a harsh lesson, and she could not allow herself to be blindsided again. Rylan, ever vigilant, stayed at her side. He had guided her through the chaos, protected her when she could not protect herself, and now observed the political recovery with quiet satisfaction. For him, the journey had always been about survival, but he could not deny the satisfaction in seeing justice served. He had taught Eris to survive, adapt, and think strategically, and now he watched her flourish as a leader. Despite the celebration, there were still challenges ahead. Her uncle's followers had not disappeared entirely. They lurked in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to regain influence. Eris knew that she could not confront them recklessly. She needed careful planning, strategy, and patience. Rylan, sensing her resolve and understanding her concerns, suggested a plan to secure her leadership. "You must show strength, but also wisdom," he said quietly. "Ruling isn't just about power. It's about earning respect, protecting your people, and making choices that are fair and just. Do that, and no one can challenge you successfully." Eris nodded, absorbing his words. His perspective, grounded in experience and practicality, gave her insight that no counselor or advisor could provide. Humans, she realized, approached problems with a clarity and simplicity that cut through the complications of politics and tradition. She had learned that courage alone was not enough. Strategy and understanding were equally vital. Over the following weeks, Eris worked closely with her trusted allies to strengthen her position. She repaired the networks her uncle had disrupted, ensured that loyal leaders were in place, and communicated openly with her people about the challenges she had faced. Transparency, she realized, was a powerful tool. It inspired trust and discouraged deceit. Rylan assisted her discreetly, offering guidance when necessary but allowing Eris to lead. He repaired communications, monitored potential threats, and taught her how to anticipate moves by those who wished her harm. In quiet moments, he shared stories of human resilience and ingenuity, reinforcing lessons of patience, determination, and resourcefulness. Through it all, Eris began to appreciate the depth of the bond they had formed. Rylan had saved her life, yes, but he had also given her confidence, insight, and the courage to face impossible odds. She no longer saw him merely as a stranger or a protector. He had become a mentor, a friend, and a reminder that strength could come in many forms. One evening, after a particularly challenging council session, Eris approached Rylan. The twin moons of her planet hung low in the sky, casting soft light across the city. "Rylan," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I've reclaimed my position, and my people are safe for now. But I want to thank you properly, not just for saving me, but for guiding me through all of this." Rylan shook his head, a small smile on his face. "You don't need to thank me. You did most of the work yourself. I just made sure you didn't fall into traps along the way." Eris insisted, her eyes reflecting the glow of the moons. No. You taught me things I could not have learned from anyone else. You gave me strength when I felt weak. And you asked for a favor. I want to honor that promise. Ryland's eyes softened. It's simple. Visit Earth one day, see our people, our culture, and understand us firsthand. That's the favor. Eris blinked, surprised. It was nothing like what she had expected. No demand for technology, no request for influence, no impossible task. Just a simple journey to another world, a chance to learn and understand. She realized the favor was not a burden, but a bridge between two very different civilizations, a symbol of trust and friendship. I will go, she promised. I will visit your world and learn about your people. Ryland nodded, satisfied. Then we are even, for now. As the days passed, Eris began the long process of rebuilding her society. She reconnected with citizens, restored disrupted services, and implemented policies that promoted fairness and security. The shadows of betrayal had not disappeared entirely, but her leadership inspired confidence and unity among her people. Ryland, meanwhile, prepared for his next journey. He had spent weeks in Lunari space, aiding Eris, but the galaxy was vast, and there were always others in need. Yet he did not leave immediately. He spent time observing Eris as she worked, silently acknowledging the transformation she had undergone. The girl he had saved from a frozen moon was now a confident leader, capable of guiding her people with intelligence and courage. Eris often reflected on their journey together. She thought about the dangers they had faced, the pirates, the betrayal, the political intrigue, and how they had overcome each challenge through trust, strategy, and determination. She realized that humans, despite their simplicity in some ways, possessed a remarkable combination of resilience, ingenuity, and empathy. Ryland had demonstrated these qualities repeatedly, and she knew she would carry the lessons he taught her for the rest of her life. One evening, as the city below them celebrated the end of a successful council session, Eris and Ryland stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing streets. The twin moons illuminated the skyline, and a gentle breeze carried the scents of the planet's flora. Eris turned to Ryland, a thoughtful expression on her face. Ryland, she began, I've learned so much from you, not just about survival, but about courage, strategy, and trust. Humans, you are remarkable. Ryland smiled faintly. We try. But it's not just humans, it's you too. You faced danger, betrayal, and uncertainty, and you never gave up. That's why you survived and why you lead now. Humans may be stubborn, but you, Eris, you are extraordinary. Eris felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had been terrified when she first met him, dependent on a stranger for her life. Now, she stood as a leader, confident and capable, guided by the lessons he had imparted. She realized that true strength was not merely in survival, but in the ability to rise, to learn, and to inspire others. The celebration below continued, but for a moment, the galaxy seemed to pause. The human and the alien girl-turned-leader shared a quiet understanding, a bond forged in danger, courage, and mutual respect. It was a connection that transcended species, culture, and distance, a reminder that in the vast expanse of space, true allies could be found in the most unexpected places. Days later, the preparations for Eris's future visit to Earth began. She studied human culture, language, and history, eager to understand the world of the man who had saved her life. Ryland assisted her, sharing knowledge, stories, and insights that would help her navigate the complexities of human society. The favor she owed him became not a duty, but a journey of discovery, learning, and connection between their civilizations. As they worked together, Eris felt a sense of gratitude and anticipation. She had survived impossible odds, reclaimed her place among her people, and forged a friendship that spanned the stars. And now, she looked forward to the opportunity to learn from humans, to see their world, and to deepen the understanding between their species. Rylan, preparing his ship for the next leg of his travels, observed her quietly. He had saved many lives before, but there was something different about this one. The favor was not about repayment. It was about trust, respect, and the bond they had formed. He knew that Eris would honor it, not out of obligation, but because she understood its significance. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy continued its rhythm of trade, travel, and occasional conflict. But for Eris, life had changed forever. She had learned that survival was not merely about escaping danger, it was about courage, strategy, and the strength to rise above adversity. She had seen firsthand the qualities that made humans extraordinary, and she carried those lessons with her as she led her people. The day came when Eris was ready to embark on her journey to Earth. The Horizon Runner had been prepared for interstellar travel, equipped with navigation tools, life support systems, and communications arrays. Eris stood on the bridge looking out at the stars, feeling a mixture of excitement, anticipation, and gratitude. Rylan stood beside her, calm and steady as always. "Ready?" he asked. Eris nodded. "Yes, I am ready." "Good," he said. "Remember what I taught you. Stay alert, think ahead, and trust yourself. Humans are not perfect, but we survive. And now you will see why." With that, the Horizon Runner lifted off, carrying Eris toward a new world, a new journey, and the promise of discovery. The favor she owed was no longer a debt. It was an opportunity, a bridge between two civilizations, and a testament to the courage, resilience, and wisdom that had carried her this far. As the ship soared through the stars, Eris looked back at her homeworld, a sense of peace and purpose filling her heart. She had survived, she had triumphed, and she had forged a bond that would endure across the galaxy. The human who had saved her life had changed everything, not just for her, but for her people, and perhaps for the worlds they would one day connect. And in the quiet hum of the ship, amidst the infinite expanse of space, one thing was certain. Humans and Lunari alike could rise above fear, betrayal, and danger, guided by courage, trust, and the enduring strength of friendship. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of possibility, challenges, and adventure. Eris and Rylan had faced danger, survived betrayal, and reclaimed what was theirs. Now together, they moved forward, toward new horizons, new understanding, and the promise of a future where bonds between species could flourish, forged not by necessity, but by respect, trust, and shared experience. The favor had been fulfilled not through obligation, but through understanding. And as the stars stretched out before them, Eris knew that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one that would continue to teach, inspire, and unite the human and the alien, across worlds and across time.